Hi there, welcome back. It's Laura at Hyperstamper. I have another Christmas junk journal, and this time I'm using a 75-year-old book, the Daily Mail Annual. I've used a few of these, but this is the first one I found with this beautiful Christmas cover, a Victorian scene here of a family ice skating. Look at the little muffs that the girls have. Anyways, before I take you on a tour and put it in my Etsy shop, hyperstamper.etsy.com, I just want to remind you, if you're in the States, that there are no tariffs on my journals. They are exempt, and everything in here is authentic, antique, and vintage ephemera. And not only that, every page is Christmas themed, every pocket, every insert. So let me show you this. I'm really excited about this one. I've got some this is from a vintage necklace that it was really long, so I just cut it up a bit, and that is actually a very old tassel that I even kept the packaging it came in for another project. Now look at the back of this. It just doesn't end. It's just as beautiful on the back as on the front. Little fella here who fell down, little dog. It's just so cute. There's so much to look at. So let's look at the inside now. This is really beautiful. It's from the early 1950s. And the reason it's so cool is you see these little holes here. It was in a book that had a little light bulb coming up through it. And you would push a little button and the light bulb would go up. Now, my son and I tried to fix the mechanism, but it was too far rusted out. So I decided to turn it into junk journal pages. Look how sweet. So that's just a really sweet little piece there. And this here is a great Christmas page. Look at this. This is an iron-on transfer again for Christmas. And this came from another friend of mine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so you can cut this up. You can make little collages with it. And on the other side, you can see that the previous page has sort of bled a little bit onto it. So I really like to kind of get double images there. And I made this pocket out of an antique music sheet. And look at this. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but there are little teeny tiny micro beads on there, which is pretty cool for the 1930s. And yeah, look at the inside, how beautiful this is. Love, Martha. And then inside it says, drop me a line after the Christmas rush. Isn't that fabulous? I love it. So that's a pretty special piece there. I've got more than a few Christmas cards in here, which makes it a very special journal. This is One Night at Bethlehem, a Christmas story page. I've got a few of them in here. And this is from I have to get this right, 1937, University of Knowledge book. And that, of course, is the story of Scrooge. And that is The Ghost of Christmas Present. And there is Ebenezer Scrooge there from A Christmas Carol, another way to call it. This came from a very old Birds of America book. And look at how gorgeous this is. But of course, it was the only page in the book that had the cardinal, which is your typical beautiful Christmas bird. So I've got him in here. And this, even though this looks brand new, it's actually from the 1940s from a theater arts magazine. And this would have been, you would send it in to make it a gift for somebody for a year subscription. $5 for 12 monthly issues. Is that cool? I think that's so cool. Also from the 1950s, just a really fun illustration of kids on the hill, obviously. And it says here, hidden pictures. So you have to find all the fun little things in there. I actually found them all. What do you think of that? Oh, I'm so smart. This is from the 1940s. Look how fun that is. Snowball making. This is from some Canadian birch bark, which we use a lot in Christmas decorations. I wonder if you do. Let me know down below if that's something that other people do, use birch bark in Christmas decorations. This is a gorgeous antique postcard from the early 1900s. Isn't that beautiful? Look at the bell made out of holly here. Oh, it's just lovely. It's a very special postcard, and it was never sent. And then this, look at this. This is a little cabinet card from the 1800s. Look at this little baby in the little Christmas hat. This is made, looks probably like rabbit fur. And you can even see in the background there some snowshoes and the carriage, or maybe, snowshoes and a carriage. I just love it. It's very hard for me to find winter photographs, but that is a good one. And it's got some value. So this here's 1950s postcard, and that is the Canada Jay sitting on his winter spruce tree there. And I love that as well. And then here we go. This is another wonderful magazine page. Really eclectic and fun. I love that they're using greens and blues for Christmas, so not traditional. And there's a wonderful Christmas apron that you can sew and make. That just tickles my fancy. I love it. So I'll tuck that back in there. This is actually from an old Flinch card box, and I just loved the old tape on it. Whoever owned the box really wanted it to stay together, so I kept that all in, put a little bit of crochet on there. It looks like a little cross. And then I've stamped a sled on here, and there's more of that same with a little hole in it for the light bulb page out of that beautiful book. That was actually a project. Look at that. Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, and this is the original first page of this book, and it was a gift in 1951 for Christmas to Rosemary. And again, getting a book like this for Christmas was a big deal. And then it's got the little note from the editor there on the other side, which is a Christmas message, and this gorgeous, gorgeous vintage doily here. It's just beautiful trim there. And I stamped that. Now this is from the 1930s, this plate, and this is how the plate was put in the book. They always left one side not glued down, and that's the original backing out of the book. So I turned it into a pocket because I wanted to leave it just as it was, and it's just beautiful. Little boys skiing. And then this one here is from the early 1900s, and it's got the horses out on the snow-covered mountainside, and they are logging. That's really quite fabulous. And look at, speaking of fabulous, here's another 1930s Christmas card. And look at the two little dogs looking at the fire. We've got the glowing candles, just stunning decorations, the little bow, and then you've got the gold around the edges, which mean they paid a little bit extra for this card for sure, and even gold on the inside. Love from Aunt Mim. You don't hear that name very often, if I've ever heard it before. Aunt Mim. And there's another one of those great 1940s pages, drawing their names in the snow. Who didn't do that? Home for the Holidays, another great vintage book. And sitting by the fire again with the decorations. And then this is from a vintage Trees of America book. And this is I love how they show you up here where it's from. That would have been the redwoods, the beautiful pine cones there. And then this is one that we have up here, of course, the balsam fir. It is spectacular. There we go. And then this is from the 1940s, and that is Jack Frost. We've got a snowman over here. And then this is just a really great scene out of a 1920s book, The Sugar Bush. And this is from the 1950s, that typical cheesy photography there, but that I don't have to tell you what that is. This is cut out from a 1927 catalog, and I used it because it's a winter coat, and that would have probably been a big deal to get something like that for Christmas. That was $12. And then we've got Keeping Christmas back here. More delightful little children's book pages here. And lots of space for you to add your own photos, your own stories about Christmas here. And then some vintage 1950s wrapping paper. And this came from a vintage magazine from the 50s, Christmas Cookies. And I just love this little page here from a vintage book, the kids pulling their sleds. And this, unfortunately, I received it like this, but I really think that is beautiful. So if you are a digitizer, this is a pretty special one to digitize. Aren't they gorgeous? That is from the very, very early 1900s. It's got a sweet little message on the back as well. And then down here, I've got a little Melmar Foods coupon. These are from Paige, and I chose it because 25 for the 25th of December. And some red and green like Christmas tissue from a sewing pattern. And this is from a kid's 1960s coloring book. So we got poinsettias and a very easy, what do they call that? Connect the dots. It goes up to number 13. I had to quit after 6. I had trouble with that one. There's another great 1950s page. And we've got the candles and the poinsettia and the music sheet back there. Lovely. And here's another one. This one's from the 30s. Little dog with his, looking at the decorations on the tree. I love that there's a candle in the tree. Sometimes that tells you how old something is. And then this here came from a vintage, it's not an antique, but a vintage Currier and Ives book. I've actually got some of the original Currier and Ives books from 1904, but this one is from the 60s, 1963 to be exact. It looks brand new, but it's very vintage. And then this little Christmas pocket down here from an antique book. And then this is just wishes and a little Christmas sentiment there. Xmas and New Year, Grandma. Isn't that, oh, it's just, I just love it because I'm trying to think the last person to read this card, and it meant so much to them that their grandma sent it to them that they kept it for many, many years. So I'm happy that it's going to go to somebody else to enjoy that. Maybe have your own ideas about that. This is just a very, very pretty little vintage song sheet. Downy little snowflakes. Jesus, our friend. I cut out some gloves from a 27 catalog because $1.50 for leather gloves. Because that's wintry. Another piece of the vintage wrapping paper. And then this, I just really like this, and I was going to cut it up, but I thought, no, somebody might want to make a pocket out of it or collage with it. So I left it alone. And how to keep warm. I have some ideas on that, being from Canada. And then down here we have this wonderful little, they're all looking up at the Christmas lights on the house there. I stamped some pine cones, and then this is just another page. They're out Christmas shopping here. And this is a 1970s Christmas sticker. There were 3 in this book that my sister gave me. She actually found them in an old store that had never been bought. And this is boots from that same catalog. And I just, you know what? They remind me of Doc Martens, which I'm just desperate for a pair of Doc Martens. And it just reminds me of those. So yeah, winter boots from 1927. $2. $2. This here is just a really fun game that you might have gotten for Christmas or played at Christmas. So it's an auto bridge card, and I love that it had the red hearts on it. And this is a piece of red tracing paper, vintage from the 40s, and you can see the little wheel that had the perforations in it. That is an antique music sheet there, and more red and green vintage pattern. And this is from a vintage book, A Special Way. Isn't that beautiful? Just so sweet. And then Marley's Ghost, and that is of course from A Christmas Carol or Scrooge. And then our last few pages here, the sweet little children who are looking up and they see the Christmas star in bed. And then there's a little poem there. So I hope you love this as much as I loved making it. Please come back soon, subscribe, leave me a comment, and hop over to my Etsy shop, hyperstamper.etsy.com. I use Courier and not postal, so it's guaranteed to get to you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.